Taking your digital camera off auto. Hi, I'm Jean Wadman, and welcome to the basics of using the manual settings on your digital camera. There are great things that the manual settings can do for your final photographs. If you want that wow factor, learning the basics will get you that effect. To keep this lesson simple, we're going to go over the exposure triangle. The exposure triangle consists of the ISO setting, which is, I believe, the most complicated to follow and understand, and reasoning, the aperture setting, and the shutter speed, finally. When you're able to control these settings, you'll be able to have your depth of field, your focal point, and adjust the amount of light the picture will use. So don't be afraid of these settings. Experiment and practice, and you'll find you make progress, and you'll be happier with some of your pictures. The ISO setting is the sensitivity to light. Smaller ISO has a cleaner, less grainy, no noise photo. Notice the noise the higher the ISO. ISO 1600 to see what they refer to as noise. The technical term of ISO is that it measures the sensitivity to light. Lower numbers equal less light allowed in. Think of your camera as a light sponge. It absorbs light. The higher the number, the more absorption you will receive. So from the beginning, I recommend using ISO 100. Then experiment with higher numbers depending on the effect that you want. Think of it this way too, is when you walk in a darker room and you flip the lights on, you can see all the dust. When you look at this photograph, do you see the clean image on the left-hand side, ISO 100, done at dusk, and over here the dusty, noisy image on the right, ISO setting 3200. Next, the next step in the triangle is the aperture. These two form the base of your triangle. The aperture is also known as the f-stop. It controls how wide the lens opens and closes. So the smaller lens is really wide and open, and the larger number, the f-stop larger number, is smaller. The aperture, though, is a space through which light passes in an optical or photographic instrument, especially the variable opening by which the light enters. Basically, your cameras, your telescopes will have an aperture also, and it affects how much light enters. It's like the pupil of your eye. The darker the area, the wider your aperture needs to be. The pupil gets larger. The brighter the area, it makes it smaller. The aperture also affects the depth of field. The depth of field, you would think the larger the opening, the clearer the photograph would be. But really, the larger the opening, the background becomes fuzzy, and the front becomes the focal point. And as you get to a larger number, a smaller pupil, a smaller opening, you get the clearer vision in the background. Think of when you're looking at a distance and you squint your eyes. This is what your camera is doing on the auto settings. It's focusing back and forth and trying to see the whole picture. The final step, at the top, is the shutter speed. And the shutter speed is basically the time for which a shutter is open at any given length of time. Now the shutter speed is with the aperture. It's only going to open as far as the aperture and close, but it's going to do it in a specific amount of time. When you look over here, my camera goes to 1/1500. This shows the 1,000, you want to have a fast, this is for fast moving photos with lots of light. When you move to the half a second, for or a half 130, a half a second, you're going to have a lot longer opening and get a fuzzy picture if it's you have movement. So most cameras stay open till 30 seconds. You can get some for a full 30 seconds. Some will stay open longer, but your average amateur cameras will stay open for 30 seconds. Mine does. Now this photograph shows a great picture of shutter speeds. You have your slower shutter speed over here with the moving pinwheel, a little bit faster, and you get a little bit more depth of photo, and then your final, they're all spinning at the same speed, and you get a clear photo on that one with the 1/500th of a second. This photo, I like photos like this. You have, the setting is a low ISO of 100. It's a medium aperture and a very long shutter speed. The photographer set the camera on a tripod and photographed cars on a highway at night. The shutter speed is so long that it will not capture the vehicle, but the light will make a brilliant path from the beginning to the end. This technique is called painting with light. And finally, not totally finally, but this is a picture of my daughter's dog. We were outside a bright sunny day. The aperture setting was f1.7. I had an ISO of 100 and a 1/1500th second shutter speed. It's a bright sunny day and he likes to pick up big sticks and run. Now this picture was done, I was experimenting, and the photograph on the left has the f-stop of f3.6 and a shutter speed of 1/10 of a second. The photograph on the right has the f-stop of 9.34. It's a smaller opening with a shutter speed of a half a second. The photograph on the right has detail from the front to the back, and the extra lighting shows true color. You get a clearer image. You can see the face on this cup. You can almost see the writing over here. It's clear compared to the left. The turtle kind of blends in over here, and you can see the turtle. The colors were too close over here, but you get a great shadow. To review, you have your aperture with your depth of vision, along with your shutter speed. You want to balance that out, and then your ISO, you want to make sure, is it a clear picture you want, or do you need that more light to get in and balance it with the grainy side? Getting all three of these to work together will be to your advantage. Play around with your exposure triangle for the perfect picture. These are the basics of getting to know your camera. I recommend mastering your current camera before spending more money and purchasing an expensive high-tech camera. Some of these shots you've seen today were taken with Sony DSLR, very low-end, cheap camera, but it still has great auto settings. And in reading and preparing for this, I also found out that many smartphones today have ISO settings. And finally, for the final pictures that I took that were not my own, I want to give credit to them, and I want to give credit to my daughter for helping me out and encouraging me in this digital lesson. Thank you.